video of jingle.
Kindasound Radio, the station for a global community.
And you live.
And good morning, you lovely listeners, to Kindasound Radio this morning on the Reality Bite Show. So welcome, it's me, your host, Wendy Smith, back here again, as usual, for your Sunday morning warm-up. And my guest this morning is Will Gibson. And Will, I'm going to say sort of health, natural healthcare, men's health, like just global health, whatever you want to know about health, basically. Will and Charlotte. Charlotte's not on this morning, but I'm going to have his wife on as well. But these guys, as far as I'm concerned, have like a range of knowledge that I've not come across before. So I'm really happy to have Will here with me this morning. Thank you for joining me, Will.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. A little bit nervous, a little bit daunted, but I'm very excited to be on here. And yeah.
TikTok stuff you do.
I've only been doing the videos since like November. I had a huge fear about being on camera. I don't like my photographs getting taken, and I thought, I kept saying to my wife, I've got to start talking, I've got to get my message out. And then I just started doing it.
Yeah. And once you start, there's no stopping, is there?
I love doing it now.
Yeah, exactly. So, Will, the show, Reality Bites is the name of the show. The reason being is I like to share sort of people's stories, how they got to where they are. Because I work in human programming as well. So I go into not just educational, I work a lot with children, but also a lot with adults in performance coaching. And I like people to just get out of their indoctrinated map of reality and start creating their own one. So I love people to know about their programming and really get a comprehension of that, because I think when you know that and you know how controlled we are in many different ways, then you can start making better choices on a daily basis of where you want to get into life. So I always like with any of my guests that come on to just explore, you know, like their early years, their family history, their education, to get a sense of, you know, where they were when they were young and then how they got to where they are now. So that's pretty much what we're going to wander through.
Okay.
So for you then, family, like if you don't mind, family background, where did you sort of grow up? What was the family dynamics?
I grew up in a little industrial town called Corby. It's in East Midlands, Northamptonshire. I was brought up by a single mother. Obviously didn't have a father in my life. I knew of him and I was very much loved. Had a brilliant childhood, but I was always looking back, I was always very sensitive to rejection. And then I obviously understanding that's not having the affirmation stuff from my father. And I played football at really high level. Could have probably turned professional, and if I didn't make it as a professional footballer, I was going to go into the special forces, the SAS. I was going to try to get into, and I had a really bad football injury when I was 16 years old, and I snapped my cruciate ligament, and it kind of ended my career and all my goals and plans. And then years after that, I kind of got involved in drinking and partying. My mental health wasn't very good. And yeah, I went into kind of a dark spiral, like many years of pulling myself out of cycles of really bad depression and then going back into it again. A lot, like the last, say, going back 7, 8 years now, I was at a point where I was like ready to take my own life. I was like contemplating it, like every moment I was awake and I wasn't kind of doing something to distract myself through relationships or power, money, drinking, all of that stuff that comes along with it. I was just thinking of ways to kill myself. And even in my sleep for probably well over 10 years, I would have nightmares every night of just horrendous, like unspeakable things. And I met two amazing people, Mark and Marie Lees, and I was just attracted to them, and they kind of, I wanted change, but I didn't know how to do it. And they kind of showed me a way. I actually went and lived with them, the two Christians, two pastors, missionaries, and they kind of took me under their wing and started working through my past, yeah, just kind of like unpacking my past and understanding why I thought the way I did and why I had all of this emotion and self-hate, and kind of like become really free of everything. And I was like, why isn't everybody like doing this kind of stuff? Why isn't everybody teaching this? So I started working as a drug and alcohol support worker. I started doing some work with guys in rehab, and then I started doing some different forms of group therapy. One was like kind of, it was people within in the church, and it was kind of the AA model, but it was more looking at all different aspects of life: sexual immorality, addiction, confidence, like all different kinds of stuff. And then I went off to study at a place called LL Ministries. It's Christian discipleship school, and it's like Christian counseling basically. And that's where I met my wife. This was just before lockdown. I give up my house, my job, and everything to go and live there for a year and study. And 6 months in, lockdown happened, and I found myself homeless, without a job. And my two mentors had relocated to Wales to work with a missionary organization called World Horizons. So they kindly invited me to go there. And then while I was there, it was kind of obviously lockdown. Everyone's like locked away in their houses like caged animals. I wasn't, like, I was down the beach every day. So I started doing online fitness classes, because I've always been into fitness and trained people and things like that, but never really thought of doing it as a job. Started doing online classes, then connected with a nutrition company, and just started helping people with their like weight loss, gaining muscle, just getting fit. And then as the business was growing, I was doing a lot of evaluations with people, and I was finding out, like, when I was talking to them, because I've got counseling skills, like probably 89% of them had huge mental health issues. Some of them couldn't afford to do my program, so I created the Telegram group, and I'd put I would only do counseling with men. So I put all the men in there. Any of the women, I had a lady that worked within our team, I passed them on to her. And I was just showing the guys that it's a safe place to share, and you don't have to suffer in silence. And it kept growing. And then I started doing like teachings and talks on Zoom on a Tuesday, which is still going to this day. And my friend, he designs websites, and he works with different charities. We created a charity called Refueled, helping men find their purpose, what it is to be a man, and helping them with that's how the charity is now a charity, refueled.org. And as this is all going on, our business is kind of growing, and we're helping more and more people. And then we started incorporating helping people with their mindset and mental health within our program. But then the nutrition company we were working with, we kind of moved away from that, because as you grow with your knowledge of health, we want to kind of optimize health, and it's very, very good products for most people, but because it's got loads of additives and things that I don't want to prescribe to people, we started looking at all different companies that we could use. And that's what we do today. Like we just help so many different people with weight loss, muscle gain, mental health, addiction, underlying conditions. So many people with fibromyalgia. I didn't even know what fibromyalgia was, like, when I started this, and now like every other woman I speak to is being diagnosed with it. And we just help them with holistic ways, mindset, stress management, nutrition, limiting hormone disruptors in environment, and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where we are today.
Oh, I've got so many questions now about all of that. I don't really know where to start. I'm going to wind straight back though to sort of like the schooling. So at school, you wanted to be a footballer, I take it. Was that that was like your dream path as a kid?
Yeah. I used to sleep with a football in my bed. That's all I ever did. I literally had a football stuck to me. And I played for English Schoolboys of Excellence, like had trials for all different teams. And I was just ready to go, like professional. I had a few clubs, like looking, Rushden and Diamonds, some other clubs. And then my friend asked me to play for his pub team on a Saturday. I just come back from an international tournament, and he was badgering me, and me and my friend James, and I was like, right, I'll come on for 10 minutes to sub, and I come on at 10 minutes, last 10 minutes, did a slide tackle, and someone landed on the side of my leg and dislocated my kneecap. And stupid me, being me, I tried to run it off. So it probably made it worse.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that happened.
And was that because you were saying that that was sort of obviously that was career path, and obviously then you couldn't go into special forces or army because you know, same old thing.
Yeah.
So had you not through school then, had you not bothered with like the other side of education, thinking of like a plan B or a plan C? It just literally was plan A, that's it.
No, I've always been very bright, but school, and I love learning. I still study like literally constantly writing notes and studying everything all the time. I always have done, but school it just didn't feel right for me. It was kind of, and I believe this is like wrong the way schools do it, because you study on your own, you do tests on your own, you don't kind of work out problems as a group. It's everything's on your own. Then you go into society, and then you're like, it's not how the world works. It's kind of backwards. It doesn't work. And I believe that everybody learns in different ways as well.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of kids that I work with in school struggle. We always say that the kinesthetic ones get KO'd, just knocked out the system really early, because we don't teach kinesthetically. In primary school you do, you know, with your little abacuses. I remember always doing counting with beads and things, and but then when you get to senior school, no, it's all watch and listen, watch and listen, watch and listen, which is where a lot of the kids that need to be running around a sports field, you know, they just lose interest. They're the ones that are staring out the window and getting told if you just paid attention you might learn something. It's like, well, you know, they're not stupid children, they're just not being engaged in the right way. And I think that's the same with any form of education. The kids that I find, even the ones, you know, the challenge, they call them challenging. They give me like classrooms of challenging children. And when I speak to them, it's like they go, well, it's boring, Wendy. The teacher's boring, or the teacher's rude, or, you know, the teacher's disrespectful. And I know it goes both ways where the kids have to give back, but that was my experience of school as well. If I wasn't being engaged, I couldn't learn. I would literally just switch off. And then I learned some of the most random subjects just because the teacher was really engaging. And I think that's, we've got, like you say, education is it's a bit back to front. We do things that children shouldn't have done to them, which is, you know, number one, we're indoctrinating them to react like Pavlov's dogs, aren't we? You ring a bell, they stand up. You ring a bell, they sit down. You know, they've got no creativity. They have to wear the same, compare themselves to everybody else, feel bad. Yeah, get things right. I think it's an awful place for kids to be, especially nowadays as well, with all the social media and everything else that's attached.
Yeah, I think with children as well, like there's a Aristotle has a great quote. He says, "Show me the boy at 7 and I'll show you the man he's going to be." And it's because up to that age, the child's brain is developing a certain way, and children literally live in imagination, and it gets crushed, and it crushes character, and then they get imparted fears and anxieties from others, and then that becomes part of their identity. That's something we do within our program. A lot of emotional thinking is actually put into us by our mothers. Women are emotional thinkers, especially with men, and we take them through a process of unforgiveness and letting go of stuff, and it actually stops a lot of emotional thinking in a lot of the men that we work with.
Well, emotion drives behaviour, doesn't it? I'm working in therapy, so the PTSD trauma stuff.
Yeah.
The guy who developed this, he was actually in the army. We're sort of diversifying, but this is quite relevant to sort of mental health. He was given an unlimited budget to go and study everything to find a solution for PTSD, basically. And what he found is no matter what he studied, you know, NLP, EFT, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy, psychology, you know, whatever it was, he'd come back, then he'd have the conversation with the client, think, oh, here we go, we've sorted this one. And then 2 weeks later, boom, they were triggered back into experience. And what he found was it was so simple in the end. He ended up downloading information, waking up in the middle of the night and writing stuff down, getting up in the morning going, what on earth have I written down here last night? And going in and experimenting with it. And what he found was, if you can recode how the emotion was stored on the event that's getting rerun, the behaviour stops. So he developed different ways of being able to take people back into an experience and change the emotion that was embedded at that moment in that experience. And then as soon as you change the emotion, the behavior stops. You don't have to worry about triggers in life anymore, because you no longer have the emotional connection to what it was that was causing the problem. So emotion, you know, we're not taught, are we, emotional intelligence at school? We were taught that from a very early age. I really do truly believe that we would not have the amount of mental health issues that we have today if you were taught from an early age about your energetic system, your physical system, you know, your mental constructs, how you build reality. If we were taught all these things, I think humanity itself would be a lot more balanced and people wouldn't have half the issues they've got.
Yeah. I do something similar, like what you just mentioned about that gentleman. It's like reframing like, so if you have a picture of a traumatic event, like reframing it to kind of look differently, look positive. Obviously, if it's traumatic, it's a negative event, but you can reframe kind of how you actually see it.
Yeah, perception is so powerful, isn't it? It really, really is. Yeah, how we view something.
Yeah.
And create
It's the same with the world today. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on in the world, and I look into a lot of like things that aren't good at all. But I don't view life like that. I'm very 90% full rather than half full. I love life. I see the good in everybody, even if somebody's like got a lot of trauma or they're really angry and aggressive. I can see past it because I understand that it's not who they really are. And it's just that it's something that I've learned from my mentors. And I think it's something that was already in my character, being very empathetic as well. But it's kind of, it's how I don't understand how, I do understand, but I don't get it, why people are kind of really negative and like they just view. I think it's the shaded glasses that you wear, how you see things. And I always see the best in everything, even if I'm always like one of them when it's going to be all right, don't worry about it, it's all right, even in it might like totally pan. But that's just
we're stuck in traffic and I have to be somewhere in an hour or 3 hours. I'm going, don't worry, the universe will advise me when I'm meant to get there.
Yeah.
You and your bloody universal energies on that time will arrive. Exactly what get there. Yeah, I have that. I do have that belief. I think the majority of life has always been quite optimistic. We grew up in a family with, you know, mum. It was always, there's no such word as can't, at least have a go. She would, you know, that dad was very much everybody's money is the same colour. We don't judge because we grew up in a pub. We don't judge anybody in this environment. Everybody's money is the same colour, you know. And I would say my parents are optimistic and pessimistic at the same time. So one sentence can be pessimistic, but it'll be directly followed by an optimistic one, which is just the funniest thing ever. I love them dearly, but they've instilled such good things in me and my sister, if you know what I mean, which have made us curious and questioning about life.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing to take with you. So first, I'm probably going to say this wrong. I'm trying. Django knows how to say this. I can't even say it. Can you say the name of the first song this morning? Ephemerals.
I don't know if my wife picked that one.
Ephemerals, I think.
There we go. Yeah, my mum will be going, oh dear God, she can't even pronounce the word this morning. Ephemerals. You'll never see me cry. So this is one of Charlotte's, is it, this morning?
I like it.
Yeah, you like it as well, though. So Django, if you wouldn't mind, You'll Never See Me Cry this morning, please.
Lovely, you're off air.
Thank you. Ephemerals. It's a weird, it's one that don't come across very often, EPH.
It is unusual. Ephemeral does have a meaning, though. I guess.
Are you Googling it at the moment?
Baby. Get a coffee.
Oh, yeah, no worries. You've got about 3 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll know.
Are you Googling it, Django?
No, I have another concern that I just noticed, so I'm quickly fixing something.
I would Google it. Oh, I can do it. Lasting for a markedly brief time, having a short lifespan.
There we go.
Hmm. There you go. It's always good to something. You've just learned something this morning. I've learned how to pronounce a word and what it means. Yeah, I wouldn't mind wandering into. I mean, men's mental health for me, Will, is something that's so like overlooked and buried under the carpet. It really is. It's just something that I've got quite a few male friends that work in that area. And I think it's something that we need to unpick for guys. Because it's always, I don't know about you, but I was brought up in the everything's, you know, get on, get up, bury it under the carpet. But that doesn't actually help, does it?
No. Something you just mentioned just before we went on to the song is like how you being affirmed and having nurturing, and that's like that's what I had a lot of affirmation from strong role models, my granddad, my uncle, football managers, but not having my dad. It wasn't what I needed. I needed my actual father. And that's what we see with a lot of the guys that we work with. It's like lack of nurture or lack of affirmation from a father figure.
From the male role model, growing up.
Yeah, because it's what I didn't understand. So when I went through everything I went through and got involved in a lot of things that people shouldn't get involved in, was because I didn't have my dad there. So when a child doesn't have the father and the strong male role model, you create a false sense of masculinity, and you create it from things that you see, TV, people around you. So it's a combination of like all different things, but it's not truly who you are. So it's like, you end up living a lie, and you're like, why is this? Why is this? So my point is that men don't become men; they have to be shown.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And this is why there's so much, especially with addicts. So if you go into a room of 100 addicts, all male, or female as well, and you ask them, did they have a father in their life? Did they have an absent father, abusive father? Their mother wasn't there, lack of nurture. 99% of them will put the hand up. What I've come to understand is different views on addiction. I don't believe it's a disease. I believe it comes from a root of trauma of some sort, which is obviously on a scale, but I believe it comes from lack of father's love, from everything that I've seen over and over again. And it's trying to fill a void that you haven't got from the father with a substance, with gambling, sex, power. And it can also be positive as well, but even people that when we work with people who are haven't got that and haven't had nurture, they're okay, they're very successful. What I find is that they're very performance based, and they can't celebrate when they get wins. They're like, right, next.
Yeah, it's like chasing the dopamine hit constantly. Yeah, reward.
30 seconds.
Yeah, we'll go.
I thought we were back on.
No. This goes on video later. So this will go up on the YouTube channel. So anything we talk about in the breaks.
Okay.
Yeah, that goes. It's just nice for people to watch a video as well. So it goes out in 2 places.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go live on air, and then I put this on this afternoon. It will go on YouTube as well. Now my
Kindasound Radio, the station for a global community.
And you're live.
And welcome back to Kindasound this morning on Reality Bites with my guest, Will Gibson. We were just talking, we're having quite a nice conversation off air that you guys couldn't hear. Obviously, the YouTube watchers later on will hear that. But I wanted to bring that one just on here, actually, Will, and just discuss about it, because we were saying about men's mental health. I was saying it's an area that's it's quite overlooked. And I think, I'm not sure if it's overlooked in the mainstream. It's more the fact that men, from what I know with all of my male friends as well, tend to just keep all of their emotion locked up. It's like, I can't show this because it means I'm weak, you know, I'm a lesser man, and we're not, like we were talking about as well, we're not taught emotional intelligence, are we, in school? And you were saying it comes from your experience, because you went into sort of drugs and then you've worked a lot with drug addicts. You were saying it comes from, a lot of it you can tag back to some form of trauma or lack of nurture.
Yeah. What I've found in people that aren't addicts as well, I work with a lot of men who have been horrendously sexually abused, physically abused, and I might be wrong, but what I've seen over and over again, and from my own personal experience, lack of father's love, lack of affirmation. So even if somebody's got a mother and father, and they might have a father that like works away, or a mother that's not nurturing, it's going to cause some sort of issues down the line. So I've seen that, like especially with addicts, is if you went into a room of 100 addicts, and you asked them, did they have an abusive father? Did they have a father in their life? Did he have an absent father? And 99% of them will put their hand up. And I believe that a lot of addiction comes from lack of father's love, and it's trying to fill they don't know what it is. They're trying to fill a void. And addiction in itself addiction isn't the issue, it's somebody's reality that's the issue. That's what they see as a solution, because they can't handle reality. So if you ever see an addict on the street, it's not because they're a drug addict, they just can't handle reality.
Yeah, 100%. So I always say it's we were saying as well, I can't remember if this was on air or off air, about people's maps of reality, how you view people as well. So I always try and explain it to people like this. I used to be quite reactive when I was younger, and then obviously, similar to you, I've gone through all, lots of trauma myself, and then had it all sorted out, went into working with people to help them, and then had this interesting detachment from people, as in I could then see their maps of reality very clearly. Meaning that when I look at someone, if they're showing me anything, I just say, people are showing you what they're running on the inside. That's all they're doing. It's not about you. So if you can stand in that space and just view them as an observer, and be curious about that map of reality that's been created within that person, you can help them develop a different type of relationship. I also think it helps you grow as well, as like an individual, because you're not reacting into it. You're becoming more compassionate, more curious, rather than judging it, going, oh, well, they're like that because of the, it's like, no, they've had experiences in there that are generating that behavior. Become curious about what the experiences are, because no one's probably ever become curious about their experiences. They've probably only ever reacted to them, which then just feeds it even more, doesn't it? It adds another layer onto the trauma. So then they go away and their behavior will get worse. What they do to themselves will get worse.
Yeah. And there's always, even if that you're talking to somebody and they've been through trauma and they're really struggling, and they might be acting out, and you might think that somebody might say, oh, you're talking rubbish, you're lying. It's their truth. Like, it's their truth to them, so be empathetic to them. That's a really good bridge I've found as well. Just basically listening and like letting them talk, and then that's been a really good thing for me. When I started all of this, Wendy, when I started doing all the counseling stuff, because I'm such an empath, I had bad boundaries, so I'd take on all of their emotion. I'd get headaches, I wouldn't sleep, and I would really struggle with it. And I had to learn about like good boundaries, and that was only from like working on myself. I believe that you get good boundaries from kind of working through your past to get where you are. But I used to get horrendous headaches from doing that.
Well, we're energy as well, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's the thing on another level, apart from the flesh puppet we trot about in, we're actually an energy system, and our energy systems interact. And if you're not careful, and you're sat in a room within 6 foot of your client, and you've not done anything to make your own energy field aware that we don't allow that in, you can be soaking in all the energy of their experiences as well, which I think that's one of my main learnings through working. I think I've worked with about 1,500 people releasing trauma now. And one of my main learnings was regulate your own energy. Once you're done with the session, shake it off, go ground. We'll get on to grounding in a minute, because I'm fascinated by thoughts on this. But go ground yourself, get yourself back in a good state, because you do take on other people's stuff when you're in proximity to them.
Yeah. It's something that I have to watch as well, because I work from 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning till 10, 11 o'clock at night, like 7 days a week. And like, I'm constantly talking to people that have a lot of problems all the time. So I literally, and I've been susceptible to, but I had a really bad burnout, nearly had a breakdown when I first started doing all of this stuff as well. I shut away, I couldn't speak to anyone, I didn't have any energy. So I had to learn like right boundaries, like, but I'm very good with it now. But yeah. But with why we work so many hours as well, is because we see people transform. Like probably 60% of the calls I take, I don't get. It's not to do with our business. Well, I'm trying to, obviously we're growing a business and it's for business. But I'll get on a phone call with anybody and I'll tell them, look, do this. This is going to help you, even if I'm not getting anything out of it, because I want to see people change. I know there's so much potential locked up in me, you, every single person out there. And sometimes some people just need a little bit of help to unlock it, and then obviously help them with the health things that might be like hurting their health and damaging their health.
That's a nice like pay it forward energetic thing as well, I think, because if you help, the way I look at it, if you help one person and you can change their perception on something so they do something different, the conversation they then have with other people will be different. So the conversation they then have could help one more person over there. 5 people might not pay any attention, but that one person might change their perception, and then their conversation is different in life. And that's how we help create like global change, as far as I'm concerned. Because that person, that when people have seen one person in a state, in a mess, and then all of a sudden they're different, they'll go, how did you become different? And then they'll share that information. Some people become curious about it and want to take it on board. Some people don't. But it spread like a happy disease.
Yeah. We've seen that with a couple of the guys that we've worked with. So we've got a couple of guys. So we had a guy contacted us about 14 months ago. He locked himself away during lockdown. He was drinking every night, become an alcoholic. And he got involved with us. We started helping him with all of that kind of stuff and loads of stuff from his past, getting him fit, helping him lose weight. And now he's not drank for 13 months. He's been clean. He's now got groups where he's helping. I get a chill up my spine. It's amazing. It's amazing. This is what it's all about, Wendy, for me. He's helping other guys do. It's mad. It's amazing. It makes me emotional thinking about it, man. But that's what it's all about, paying it forward.
It is just, seeing people change. When someone's helped you, I think for me, it's a bit of payback. I had so much stuff going on. You know, after I had the accident, I came out of hospital and I was pretty much suicidal. You know, I'd gone from being able-bodied to walking on crutches, but so slow, and, you know, the body wouldn't function because it was spinal cord damage and lots of stuff. So I'd gone from this running about normal, what I call a normal person, to then dragging a body about. And I remember my mum and dad took me, I think they were so worried about my mental health, they took me to Mexico for a few weeks for a holiday, because they just wanted to get me out of the environment and do something different for me to try and break the pattern that I was in. And it was you know, it was through, like I say, through other people helping me get back to that place of balance. That's why I think I like helping other people now.
I think that this is what we do within, so our charity, our charity Refueled, it's all about, I believe that everybody has to find their purpose. And I think everybody's purpose, my view, is bringing value to other people's life. It's like, if somebody's sad, I've got to go and get this pair of shoes to make myself feel happy, or a new phone, or go out for a drink. That's avoiding emotion. How you become happy is doing something nice for somebody else. It's like simple as that. If you're resentful, get somebody a cup of tea that you're resentful towards. It ends it straight away.
Yeah.
It ends it. But that's what we try to teach the guys, is what it is to be a man and find your purpose. And we do it by little prompts. We get them to build their confidence, talk on camera, maybe have an uncomfortable conversation. We do a thing called a stretch. So every week you've got to do something that's going to push you a bit, because this is something that I found as well. So people that live a very shaded life, they haven't pushed themselves out of the comfort zone. So the small insignificant things that happen to them, it actually tortures them because they can't handle it, because pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and trying new things, actually study into it, it can actually change the genetic code of your brain. So we do that to the guys. We give them little prompts and little pushes, and it just builds their confidence. And then they go on. A lot of them go on and they start helping other people. You wouldn't believe the transformations in some of the guys. Had guys we've worked with that were, one of the guys, Michael, first time I ever met him, he was on the street and I gave him money. He was addicted to crack, heroin, 22 stone, diabetes. He's now married, got his own house, 3.5 years clean. And he reversed his diabetes that his doctor said he wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, anything is possible. The human, I would say the human system it's one of the most amazing bits of kit we have down here, and we've just not been taught how to use it, have we? And this is the fundamental flaw in all of it. That when you find a bit of purpose, and I do agree with that actually. Well, everybody's chasing their purpose of, my purpose is to build a massive company, or to, like, say, make millions of pounds, or whatever it is. It can be so simple, Will. Purpose is to make someone smile today.
Yeah.
Just by saying something nice in a supermarket to them. Do you know what I mean? By letting someone out in traffic. Do you know what I mean? Just these simple little things, like you say, if everybody just did those little gifts of kindness every day, I think everybody would just feel a damn sight better. It's pretty simple, really, isn't it? When it
very simple. It's when working with people that were with addiction, a grateful addict will never relapse. Never. If they're practicing gratitude, if they're in a state of feeling grateful, if they're in a state of want, I need this. This is the world of consumerism that we live in. We need to get this to make myself feel better. I need to get that relationship. I need to be in this position of power. I need that job. I need the car. I need this. But what have you got? And people don't focus on that. It's always, I need this. What have you got? Look, you're breathing. You've got a roof over your head. You've got relationships. You've got time. You've got life. You've got nature. These are the things people don't think about. You can actually reprogram your brain over a 30-day period by practicing gratitude every day.
Yeah, I have a friend who says to me, instead of writing down, he works in a similar field to me, and I like this, and I've started practicing this because it is really nice throughout the day. He said, instead of practicing gratitude where you sit down in the morning and go, what am I grateful for? He said, because sometimes you wake up, you feel a bit rubbish, do you know what I mean? It can take you ages to get, and I do this, I'll write my gratitude lists and stuff. He said, throughout the day, just say thank you for all the little things that happen, and just notice what's different. And I went, all right, then I'll do that for a week. Instead of doing my gratitude diary, I'll just do like little thanks. So, like the baby robin, seeing the baby robin in the garden at that moment, in that actual moment, instead of at the end of the day trying to remember what I'm grateful for, just in that moment going, thank you for showing me that. That's really made my day. And having that little, do you know what I mean? That little hit of oxytocin or DHEA or something, and just in the moment, being thankful for someone letting me out on a roundabout when it wasn't my right of way, just because there's a lot of traffic. Thank you. That was a really nice feeling, and all these little things. And it's interesting. By the end of the day, I've got nothing to write down for gratitude because I've been doing it literally all day long. Like, thank you for the cup of coffee. Do you know what I mean? This conversation, whatever it is. And it really does make you feel just generally better. And then I find life around you, because energetically wise, whether people believe in like the law of attraction and energy, I do believe what you send out there, you get back. I really, really do truly believe that.
Yeah.
If you're walking around in that space of actually being thankful for, like you say, the small things, the little things, you're just always going to have, it'll always provide for you. It'll always just bring you things back in to validate how you're feeling.
It's really helpful for people to do. It's the small insignificant things that we get them to focus on. Like literally, like things that people just take for granted. Like, but if you're in another country, a third world country, you would be thankful for that. So it's just getting them to focus on, because everything's I need, I want, I need this. I'm not feeling great. I will get this. And it's just a cycle of like craziness.
Just feels like stuff just fills your house up. It doesn't fill your soul up. You just end up with a house full of stuff, but empty on the inside.
Yeah, and it'll be a regret of a lot of people on the deathbed. They'll be chasing things that don't really matter. They'll be stressing out about paying for things that don't really matter. But it's relationships, it's experiences and memories that you'll think about on your deathbed. If you look at any literature, anyone's biographies, over and over again, it's one of the things that they will always say towards the end of life. I wish I spent more time. I wish I spent more time with my kids. I wish I spent more time in prayer, like in nature. It's not like I wish I got those Louis Vuitton bag or something.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it can take a lifelong. Fleetwood Mac, Dreams. I love this song. It's one of my old school favourites. Why did you choose this morning, or was this another one of Charlotte's?
No, I chose this one. I actually only heard, obviously know who Fleetwood Mac is. They're a little bit before my time. But I heard this song, a remastered version of it. It must have been about a year ago. And I thought, I just felt something. I thought, I love that. I love that song. And I always go back to it and listen to it every once in a while.
They're a cracking band, they really are. So Django, a bit of Dreams for us this morning, please. Fleetwood Mac.
Cool, you're off air.
Yeah, there's so many different versions of this out there as well.
Yeah.
Like I say, there's some really good ones. Some good remastered stuff from all the old stuff I used to listen to. I'm a 70s baby, so.
I'm late 70s, Wendy. 78, I am.
I are 72.
Yeah.
So grew up in the pub. We had a lot of 60s music. So I grew up with a lot of 60s music, and then obviously 70s, 80s. Yeah. My mum and dad both love rock and roll. So mum used to do rock and roll dancing and that.
My granddad too used to listen to kind of Elvis and Tom Jones and loads of blues music. That's why. And then my mum was into like UB40 and all of that kind of stuff. I love UB40. Brilliant.
Yeah, good eclectic mix. I like pretty much anything with a good rhythm, bass, and lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what genre it's in. I have such an eclectic taste of music, just like all music. Anything that makes me feel good, really. The funny thing is, I don't know about yourself, but over the years, the like higher vibrational realms I've wandered into, the less I can listen to some of the old negative. I used to like rap and stuff like that. I literally put it on now and it'll be like, oh no, I can't listen to that. Certain things in life I can no longer sort of be around.
Yeah.
The frequency of them, which is really interesting. But that's another thing we're not taught about in it. Frequency, vibration, how the universe actually works.
Yeah. I don't really look into too much of that kind of stuff with vibration. Obviously, frequencies for healing. I was looking at something this morning actually about frequencies. So it's this thing you put on your finger. So I'm always looking at. So all the companies that we use and like the supplements and stem cell, it's all different companies. And whatever we find, even if we don't make a commission off it, we want the best for our clients. So I'm researching parasite cleanses and more into heavy metal detoxes. I come across this thing and you put it on your finger and it sends a vibration through your finger. It comes from technology from Nikola Tesla. And it literally kills the parasites, along with doing some other things as well. It's fascinating.
My mate has got some weird shit that you put these headphones on, plugged into something that looks like a set of decks, to be honest. And it runs the same thing. It's a bit like the bioresonance machine, but it's not a bioresonance machine. It runs something through your body, picks up what's in there, and then it'll run the relevant tone or frequency through your body to kill off whatever, similar with like the parasites and stuff like that. Because I was watching who knows, but I was watching something the other day that was saying basically parasites are the cause of the majority of things that go on in your body.
Yeah. Lyme disease, they're finding a lot of people with Alzheimer's. In America, they're testing they've actually got Lyme disease.
And that's parasitic, is it?
Yeah. But what do you know anybody? Because I'm speaking to people like from America and all over the place about all this stuff. So I'm trying to. I always take counsel from many advisors from whatever I'm going to do. Do you know anybody in the UK?
What, that's got Lyme disease?
Like no, that it's into like parasite cleanses and heavy metal detoxes and stuff.
I do. I've got 2 people in particular.
I'd love to chat to them.
Maybe 3 actually. Yeah, I can give you their details. I'm sure they'll be happy to have a conversation with you.
30 seconds to go.
Yeah, they've all got different bits of kit. But one of my business partners, she's a gut health specialist, nutritionist, so she deals in that. But then my other friend Cheryl's got the bioresonance, so she deals with that. And then another friend of mine, Jamie, he's the one with the weird stuff. He's right into all of that side of things with parasites. And yeah, I can put you in touch with any of them for a conversation. Yeah, it's fascinating. I've just got certain body issues.
And you're live.
And welcome back to Kindasound this morning. So we were just talking parasites in the break, and I want to wander into a couple of realms with Will now, because this is why I started following Will on TikTok. Basically, this is how I came across him. His videos started popping up, and they were very interesting because they're about plenty enough areas of health that I'm very interested in. But the first one, Will, that I just wanted to talk to you briefly about was grounding. Because it's one thing that I didn't realise. I was only watching a video of yours the other day that you were talking about inflammation in the body and grounding. So could you talk to us a little bit about grounding, what it is and why it's so important?
So grounding is basically just taking your shoes and socks off and planting them on the ground outside or some natural ground sand. You can actually do it swimming as well. So because we live in a world today and we wear rubber soles and rubber shoes, I think it was in the 50s, they were kind of invented rubber. Was it around about that time, 40s, 50s? So rubber obviously disconnects you from the charge. Everything gives off an electromagnetic field, electrons. So we're constantly disconnected. And there was a gentleman, I think it was in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, and he was just doing research into the charges we give off and the infrared, the electrons, and the earth. And he found that we were with the body, when it was disconnected through wearing rubber soles, it was causing inflammation and a lot of issues in people. And so he was treating people by taking their shoes and socks off, getting into nature, walking on the ground, and he would test the blood and the inflammation. And then a couple of hours, he would retest them, and it would show a massive reduction in inflammation in the body. The study into it went a lot further now. It's shown to be a huge antioxidant. It reduces cortisol, the stress hormone in the body. It can help alkalize the body also, for pH in the body, and also helps with EMF exposure, that we're exposed to this radiation all over the place. Doing a couple of hours, doing that, half an hour, you'll get benefits from it. But we use it with a lot of our clients who have extreme inflammation, fibromyalgia, lupus, things like that. And it really is, along with looking at nutrition and stuff, but it greatly helps. I do it most days. My wife does it most days as well.
Yeah, is there, like you were saying, half hour is good, but is there an optimum time that they've found that is really beneficial for the body? A lot of the studies which you can actually go, if you want to check this out, guys, so you can go onto YouTube, and there's a movie, it's called The Earthing Movie, and it's about the gentleman that did this, and you can see all of the research. It's fascinating. But to get really good effects, half an hour upwards, if you can, like 2 hours. I don't think most people have got 2 hours in a day. I'm blessed enough that I can go and work outside in the garden for 2 hours a day and do it if I wanted to. But yeah, the longer the better, really. It's why we feel so good. We walk in, you go in nature and you've got your feet in the sand. It's not just because like you're there. There's something actually going on biologically in your body that you can't see. Yeah, and with inflammation, how does inflammation affect the body? Does that create like lots of disease? Is it one of the worst things you come across? Inflammation is the driver of pain, and inflammation, lack of oxygen and inflammation is the driver of all disease. Okay. Like everything. Like, so any pain that you've ever got, there's inflammation going on. People that have fibromyalgia, it can actually be induced by wrong nerve signaling. So the body thinks that there's been a trauma,
and the nerves will send out a response to put fluid and whatever, blood and all that flow to that area, and it causes swelling and it causes pain. So you can just, there's certain things you can do with diet and supplementation that can help with the nerve signaling, but grounding really helps. Like really, people, it's one of the most underused health practices on the planet.
Yeah, I do it most mornings. I actually went up the woods yesterday, went for a walk, and then sat down on a tree stump and took my shoes and socks off. I thought, so I'm just going to sit here with my eyes shut.
Yeah, Native Americans used to have a practice when someone got severely ill with whatever diseases, cholera and all of the kind of diseases they had 150 years ago. They would bury them in mud up to the neck and leave them for 24 hours, and it'd be highly effective of healing them.
Right, wow. Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to be buried up to my neck in mud. So you say that though, when we used to bury each other in the sand on the beach as kids, we used to dig a hole. Do you know what I mean? Like, and lay in it and then bury each other. Sounds a bit weird, but I suppose it must be something that's ingrained in you. If you're not feeling great, bury yourself. I just remember doing this as a child. Yeah, digging a hole and like burying myself or my sister in the sand, and it did always feel nice.
It feels amazing. If there's anybody watching this and they have pain or they might have an injury, it can speed up the healing process as well. So obviously, if you get reduce the inflammation to an area, it can speed up the healing process. But if there's anybody watching it, start doing it if you can. 20 minutes a day. You don't have to walk on there. If you're in a lot of pain, you can't move. Take your shoes and socks off and just plant it on the grass. And just 20 minutes, literally.
Quite a handy bit of information. My mum last year had early this year, end of last year, sorry, had a new knee put in, and she's always had a lot of inflammation. And Dad is going in this week coming to have a new knee, so I'll make sure that he's walking around the garden barefoot.
Yeah.
Another
thing, like with going along with like the inflammation, just to tell any of the guys on here. So seed oils, this is something you want to try to eliminate as much as possible from your diet. Seed oils are a driver of inflammation. They put this all in all processed food. Most people cook with vegetable oil, sunflower oil. Some people use rapeseed oil, canola oil. These things contain something called omega-6 fatty acid. This is hugely problematic for people's health. So if you look at the numbers, more people stopped using butter in kind of the early 80s, started using margarine. People stopped using dripping, started using vegetable oil. Because we were being told that this is causing heart disease and all these different issues. But if you look at the numbers, the increase in seed oils is the increase in chronic conditions, heart disease.
What do you recommend people cook with instead of using seed oils?
Avocado oil or coconut oil, or use ghee. I cook my eggs in kind of grass-fed cow's butter, dairy gold. Don't Lurpak and all that kind of stuff. Stay away from it.
Yeah. What about things like hemp oil?
Hemp, I don't know. I don't use hemp oil. If as long as it's cold pressed, it's the process that it goes through. Because like a lot of seed oils, like rapeseed oil and vegetable oil, they were kind of a byproduct, and they used to actually use them for lubrication of machines.
Right.
But now we eat them.
Yeah, so not good. So avocado oil, coconut oil. Yeah.
It affects hormones. It affects hormone levels as well. Estrogen in women, testosterone in men. It also affects the blood-brain barrier, so it can cause brain fog and things like that. Limiting as much of this as possible from your diet, it will greatly improve anybody's health.
Yeah, there was one thing as well. I mean, we're nearing the end of the show. I'm going to have you back to talk other different health areas. But black seed oil, is this something that you use, that you've heard of? What are the benefits of this? Because I keep seeing this pop up everywhere, and I've got no idea what it is.
The black seed oil comes from a plant called sativa, Nigella sativa, and they've been using it for thousands of years. It's been found in Egyptian mummy king pharaohs' burial chambers. All people throughout history have used it. It has so many different health properties. It's really good for gut health. It's really good for inflammation. It's good for stabilizing blood sugar levels. It's really good for if you've got fatty liver. It's really good for kidney health. It is amazing. You literally, I just took some before I come on the show. Took some, and it brightens me up. It helps like produce serotonin, the feel good hormone in my tummy. There's too many benefits to go into. I've done a couple of videos on it, and it's just, but the important ones are that it's really good for brain health, stomach health, heart health, blood health, inflammation. So the things that we need really, and it's not expensive either. It costs like 13, 14 quid.
Oh, right, okay. The other thing that a friend of mine who has a health food shop around the corner, but not your usual type of health food shop, she's just got me onto powdered wheatgrass juice.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff is fascinating. I have a little shot of it in the morning. I just make it up myself. And she sort of she sourced the best one she could find. And it's like this lovely little kickstart in the morning. I feel really tired. And as soon as I drink it, empty stomach, it's like ping, there you go, away you go for the day.
Amazing.
Yeah, apparently that has massive health benefits as well. But there's a whole book. She got me to read the wheatgrass book. And it's like, we've got all of these things out there that can keep the body in such good form, yet they're just all shelved and shoved over here, and go take your pharmaceuticals instead.
Yeah. Rule of thumb is just eat, like, if you can get at least 80% of your diet from like whole foods, like fruit, veg, and then just try to limit as much processed rubbish as possible. I'll give you one more tip before we get off with your fruit and veg. So we wash our fruit and veg in water. So a lot of pesticides are oil based. So what you want to do is wash them in water as normal. Fill up a basin, get bicarbonated soda and white vinegar. Fill it up. Put your fruit and veg in. 2 tablespoons of bicarb soda. 15 to 20 ml of white vinegar. Swirl your finger. Leave it to sit in there for 10 minutes. It'll pull most of the pesticides off. Pesticides contain toxins, chemicals, also things called phthalates and parabens. This replicates estrogen. If you have issues with your hormones, it blocks hormones, causes too much estrogen, affects progesterone. So it helps balance hormones. So it's really, really bad for the body, basically.
So basically, all fruit and vegetables you can do that with.
Yeah, do it. You can test it yourself. So if you fill up a bowl of water, put fruit and veg in, leave it in there for a few minutes like you'd normally clean it, get a glass, take it out, and then empty the water out, fill it up again. Put the 2 tablespoons of bicarb soda, the 15-20 ml of white vinegar, leave it for 10 minutes, and then test it. You'll be shocked. It's because it's oil based, so it doesn't come off with water. The vinegar and the bicarb pulls the oil and all the pesticides, most of the pesticides off. So it's really good for overall health.
Yeah, that's a really good tip actually, because I wash all my fruit. Well, I actually grow a lot of veg during the year, but and I don't grow enough to sustain myself fully, so I still have to go and buy stuff. And I'll just wash it like you would, just wash it. But it still feels waxy once you've washed it. I'll do that. Right, Will, if people want to get hold of you, where's the best place to get hold of you? To follow you?
You can get me on, I have to look at my names because my wife changed my name on TikTok. I've only just changed it. So it's Red Pill Will on TikTok, or my wife and myself's channel is a Natural Healing Couple. Or you can just find me on Facebook, William Gibson. You can reach out. If anybody needs any advice or wants a free coaching call, I'm quite happy to do it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's been fascinating. And I'm sure I'm going to have you both back. Tell Charlotte I want her on here as well.
Will.
We'll go proper into some health stuff. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Django, thank you for producing as always. And thank you to the listeners and viewers. Hope you've enjoyed this morning. And we're going to play out with Benediction and Hot Natured and All Love. Thank you, Django.
Lovely, you are off air.